Okay, now this class is as much for me as it is for you, this particular session, because by way of background, let me say that when I first started to do sacred contracts years and years ago, it was before I had a relationship to mysticism, before my own inner mystical world kind of exploded the way it did. And how that reshaped me and how it reshaped my relationship to how I understood the nature of life and the nature of the divine, etc. And of course, that has had a tremendous impact in what I've written and what I've taught since, going on to teach and write about prayer and about grace and about the soul, and all of which I think are um, what I want to contribute. When I now teach sacred contracts, the impact that all of that has had on how I want to teach this um, is like shining a new light upon a field so familiar to me, but it's making it look even richer and more in depth and more complex and all of the above because I understand it differently than when I first introduced it many years ago. So, with that said, I am kind of bringing a more mystical perspective to it this evening as a way of my way of hopefully igniting in you a deep enthusiasm for yourself, for the sacredness of your life, for the for for you to explore the possibility that, if not the probability, that everything about your life is in fact quite extraordinary and that nothing is here by um, without a plan. The plan is not like a human plan, like I plan like my niece Sarah, who plans every minute of every day, just like that. We're going to pick you up at 11:03 and then we're going here. It's not that kind of plan. It is an energetic map of possibilities, probabilities, of patterns. If if you look at the order of the universe and the order of nature, you'll see that there is a constant to the patterns of nature. And within that constant, there are possibilities and probabilities that, in the form of weather, in the form of different temperatures, in the form of what people might plant in a field. And there's all kinds of things that can be chosen to impact nature. But the essential order of nature is what it is. That's in place. That is in place. So, in that same way, I want to perhaps emphasize this evening that um, the importance of learning to see your life through a personal lens, a very intimate lens, and at the same time, adapt a way of understanding your life through an impersonal lens, which is archetypal, which is symbolic, which is your capacity to relate to the mystical truth that what is in one is in the whole, which is also a scientific principle. What is in one is in the whole, as above, so below. That these teachings that I find so extraordinarily accurate, and I have seen them, I've relied upon them when I do a medical intuitive reading. I've only seen these mystical laws present in every reading. That the the way to relate to the the cosmos in an intimate way is a mystical skill. It's a mystical skill. It's not a logical one. It's not just like a contract to actually understand what a sacred contract is. It is if you can think in terms of a mystical arrangement, it is not a written document that you incarnated holding in your hands. It doesn't, the non-physical world, the holy world does not work like that. And so you have to understand the invisible world, the sacred world on its terms and how it operates. It is a reflection, but the opposite of how this world works. This world driven by insecurity and fear, that world held together by faith and eternity. It is quite the opposite, quite the opposite. So with that in mind, we're going to jump in and I want to talk about contracts. And I want to talk about how they kind of unfold in your life. But I have a bit of a background I want to add on because of questions I've gotten from you and because of how I want you to understand identifying your own archetypal patterns and what it is to view life through that, because it's not just about your archetypes. When you anytime you ever say refer to somebody as a person such a child, you are actually doing an archetypal analysis of them. If you are sitting outside in a cafe and you look and think that person looks like a geek, or that person looks like a classic teacher, something I hear a lot, but you are picking up a pattern. And if you said, look at that person, that is so typical of a geek or whatever, you don't have to say another word. The whole pattern transfers or is engaged with how you know that person will understand that word, that pattern. You just know it. And it's that same kind of capacity to realize I've been reading archetypal patterns all my life. Well, it's not just in people. Archetypal patterns actually organize the flow of life and everything we experience. Absolutely everything that we experience is caught up, is organized by the energetics of patterns. And this is what we'll go into in depth next week. But in order to really appreciate that, you have to actually get a handle on how the patterns in your life create what they do, and how you actually can shift a advance a pattern, expand a pattern by the choices you make, and that is what life is about. It's as simple as the journey of how we use the creative power that is our soul through every choice we make, through the power of what we believe and how we act on those beliefs, through the actions that we take, through how we frame a situation we're in, through how we respond to it. And when we leave this planet, which we will almost certainly do, the important thing is whether we've left it more enriched because we've lived here, or whether we have left it more wounded. And that is something every one of us will be held accountable for in some way, because that is the law of karma.